Thank you so much, Leslie Danford, for coming on Wellness Your Way. I am so excited for all you're going to share with us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited too.
Of course. Well, I've read your very impressive formal bio up front, but I'd love just to hear in your words about you and how you wound up here today.
Yes. So professionally, I spent most of my career in a formal career path. So I got my MBA. I worked in management consulting. I worked for a lot of consumer products companies, and then I worked for a global beverage company. However, I've always had this entrepreneurial itch. My mom tells this story. When I was 7, I drew a little picture book and then asked her to borrow money to make copies of it. And I sold it out on the street in front of the drugstore downtown for 5 cents a piece. So I've always kind of had that, and actually met my husband in a Chicago entrepreneurial group when we were in college. So I've always had it. However, it took me getting laid off during the pandemic to actually start my own company. So that's my professional story. And then personally, yeah, I married my college boyfriend. We have 4 kids, 3 boys and a girl under 10, and I also have a dog and a cat. So our house is very crazy, but I like it.
My goodness, that is mind-boggling. First of all, I don't think I knew that about you. I also married my college boyfriend. So I love that. And just the idea of having 4 kids and a dog and a cat and running a business, my hat's off to you. You are so amazing. I always tell my clients, no one is superwoman, but you're all superwoman in the metaphorical sense. You're still human. You got to take care of yourself. That's what we're going to be talking about today. But it sure sounds like to me that you are superwoman. That's amazing.
Oh, thank you. I don't know about that, but thank you.
You are. Can you tell us a little bit about, with the structure of your family being how it is, how do you operate your day, running a business and the family?
It's a great question. And I love structure, and I truly believe that like structure is freeing. Like you have to put in boundaries and structure. Otherwise you could get pulled in a million directions. So earlier in my career, when I was in a more formal corporate job and my kids were a little younger, we used daycare. And that was actually helpful because you drop the kids off and there's like a very clear distinction. Okay, yes, kids are gone, it's work time. Kids are back, it's home time. Since the pandemic, and then now running my own business, working from home, it's much different. We now have a nanny. And so I love the flexibility to be able to kind of be around and see the kids, but sometimes it can get out of control and the lines are blurred and the interruptions can be crazy. So I find a couple things helpful. One is just setting expectations, like, okay, I'm going to be working now. I actually have on my door a little do not disturb. I can slide it. So it's like, knock or leave me alone, basically.
Yes.
So I'll set expectations. I'll say, okay, I'm working now. I will take you guys, especially in the summer when they're all around. It's like, I'll take you guys to your swim practice at this time, but in the meantime, I'm working. And so kind of having those lines is helpful. And the other thing I'll say is getting the right childcare is so huge. We have a great nanny right now. She's very proactive. She is a little bit, she's been a nanny for 20 years. So she's very experienced, but I haven't always had that. And so that's the other thing I'll say is it's worth kind of investing in getting that right. Even if that means changing childcare a couple times, it can feel daunting because it can make such a huge difference.
That's incredible. And I am so glad you said that first one about the do not disturb, because I've recommended that over and over. And the number of people who say, oh, no, I can't do that. My kid is 8 or my kid is whatever. I'm like, they can learn to do that. Of course, if there's an emergency, we want them to come in, but they can learn at a young age. Mom's working, dad's working, aunt is working, whatever. And that's really good to have boundaries, I think, for them and for you.
Oh, yeah. I think it actually teaches them too that they can also set boundaries. So we have a lot of kids at our house, and sometimes one of them might want some alone time or needs to do their homework. And they also need to be able to say to us, like, hey, I need to have some time alone. So I do think it can feel awkward to put that in place, but I do think it's good. Net, I highly recommend it.
Amazing. So that's already one way that you are taking care of yourself, but I'd love to dive more into your own health and maybe starting with nutrition. How do you think about your nutrition through the day or the week?
Yeah. It's so funny because I feel like it took me a while to figure this out, but I'm one of those people, if I don't eat or I'm hungry, I'm like very irritable. And I actually think having kids really brought that out more, because kids can be very trying, and like if I'm not fed, I'm just not my best self with them or with anyone. So one thing I do is just try to make sure that I'm eating all my meals and snacks, because sometimes when you're busy or you're serving your kids, you forget to eat yourself. So we keep a lot of kind of easy food around. So pre-cut veggies, dips, leftovers from dinner that can be easily heated up for lunch, that kind of thing. So that's helpful. And then when I'm on the road, I have some like go-to fast meals. Like I love Chipotle, which is funny because
Yes.
it's like fast food, but it's quite healthy. I do like all the veggie toppings and things, and I feel good about it. So that's one thing, is just making sure I'm like eating regularly. But other than that, I try not to put too much pressure on any particular meal or even day. So, I just think of it in like multi-days. So it's like, okay, yesterday maybe I didn't get that many veggies, so today I'll try to work something in. Or maybe I didn't get much protein at breakfast, I'll make sure to have some at lunch. And so I try to, I guess, like go easy on myself in that sense, where I don't have to be perfect every single time I eat, but then overall just make sure I'm checking all the boxes.
I love it. So it's a little bit of keeping the balance in mind. Oh, yesterday was slightly less healthy. That's okay. I'm going to add in some more veggies today. Or like you said, I'm missing protein. Let's balance it out. I think that attitude really helps us stay away from the all or nothing mentality, because I find not just in moms and in everyone, myself too, it's easy to say, oh, Monday wasn't ideal, I'll start again next Monday. And that never helps anything.
Yes, no, you're totally right. And there's actually one more thing I was thinking too, is I try to listen to my body. And this is one too, where I think when I was younger in my 20s, I thought I knew better than my body, So I'd crave something and I'd be like, no, you can't have that. You're going to do this other thing. But what I find is that like my body's actually smarter than I think. And so if I, had a hard workout and I really just need a bunch of pasta, that's what I'll have. Or if I feel like I need fruits, or I'm craving a particular food, I'll actually do it within moderation, because I think your body sends you messages. And if I embrace those messages, it works out better than if I try to fight it.
Absolutely. I love that so much. Thank you for sharing that. Such a balanced approach that makes a lot of sense. And yet we always try to over analyze it, outsmart it, think of the latest fad diet or whatever. That must be the answer. But your answer is simple. Listen to your body, fuel your body, make sure you have time to eat, and you make time to eat. No one has time. And then balance it out, and always keep going towards your goals. I love that. Okay, great. So a little bit about your nutrition. Aside from nutrition, what other things do you prioritize for your health?
Yeah, so a couple things. One, exercise. I'm a huge exercise person. It is very stress relieving to me. It's almost like my meditation in some ways. Like
Yes.
I'm carrying a lot of stress in my body, so I love working out. But it can be hard. I mean, with busy schedules, kids, everyone has demands on your time. So I try to carve out every other day. If I miss one, I'll just try to get the next day, kind of that multi-day approach. But I have like sort of a menu, and depending on how I'm feeling, how much time I have, it might be a quick like workout in the basement for 20 minutes, or it might be a longer go to a 90-minute workout class. But
Wow.
I try to get something in every couple days. And whatever I can make work, that's what I try to do. So exercise is huge. And the other thing we kind of touched on a little bit when we were chatting earlier is just like mental health. And that's one that I did not think explicitly about much before the pandemic. But when schools and daycare shut down, I got laid off. I was thrown home with all the kids. I was totally out of my element. It was really stressful. And so that kind of forced me to think about, what do I need to recharge, and being very intentional about making time for that every day. So I have a menu on that front too. Like it could be taking a long hot bath, or a walk outside by myself, or even just like sipping my coffee in the quiet with my eyes closed, like no one talking to me. Or yoga. I try to make time for something like that every single day. Because if I don't, I just can feel the tension kind of building up. And I used to feel guilty about that, about taking that time for myself, but I can now clearly see that I show up better for my family and my work and everyone else when I do that.
Wow, that is so inspiring. I'm so glad you get that time for you. I think it's essential. I'm curious, when you say you have a menu for exercise and mental health, is it literally like you have a card or a notes on your phone or something like that, or is it a mental menu?
It's more in my it's mental. Like on the workout side, there are a few easy things that I know I can squeeze in, like going for a run. I have a yoga studio nearby. I have this like interval training studio, and I have a workout machine in my basement. So in my head, I'm like, what do I have time for? And if it's 30 minutes, an hour, 90 minutes, I kind of know. And I also on that front listen to my body too. Like some days I just don't have energy to go for a run. Whereas other
Yeah.
days I feel like I'm full of pent up energy and I need to. So it's all pretty much in my in my head. On the mental health side too, like I just know. Actually, no, on that side, I did make a list. I made a list in my journal of things that kind of give me energy, just to
Amazing.
like force myself to think of. I tried to think of 20 things. It was actually kind of hard to do because some of them I thought, is this something that really gives me energy, or is it something I feel like it should be doing? So I made
Yes.
that list and tried to pare it down, and then I think about it when I feel like I need a recharge.
I really love that idea because we all have days when we don't feel like our happiest selves or most natural, upbeat selves. And sometimes it can turn into a should, like you said, oh, I really should meditate, but you just don't feel like meditating. And then you get yourself in this cycle of whatever, like crabbiness, basically, or I would get myself in a cycle of crabbiness. But having that menu gives us so many options. Okay, you can choose whatever sounds best to you right now. I really love that idea. I encourage everyone to do it who is listening. And it sounds like, honestly, you require, I don't know if require is the best word. You can change my word. You allow yourself a lot of flexibility, which I think is super difficult. I'm putting myself in your shoes. If I have 4 kids and a business, and I'm allowing myself flexibility to do a 90-minute workout or a 20-minute workout, I feel like I might always choose the 20, even if
Oh yeah.
or maybe different. I might always choose the 90, but I really admire that you're able to work in flexibility with everything you're balancing. It's amazing.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I do think I do try to think about the bigger picture too. So like, let's say I did just only have 20 minutes the last couple times. I will tell myself, okay, you got 2 20 minutes, now you get at the 90. So it's kind of like with the food too, is like each day I try to be flexible, but I do kind of
Yeah.
hold myself to a standard over time. But it's funny you mentioned meditation. I did try for a while to do the formal meditation, like 20 minutes with the apps and everything, and it just was not for me. And I did beat myself up about that. And I had this like, I was like, okay, every day I'm going to try this. This was like a couple years ago when the pandemic started. Every day, and I had like a task. I was like, every day I'm going
Yeah.
to do this meditation. And I realized after trying it for several days, it was not relaxing. Like if the point was to relax, it felt like a chore. And maybe this like maybe I'm just needing more practice, but it just did not recharge me. And so I basically let myself off the hook on that one.
Yeah, I think that's really smart. And also, I think those things can fluctuate. Like I'm thinking of myself and journaling. You mentioned journaling. I avoided journaling for so many years, even though I heard about the benefits, but it felt icky to me. It felt like a waste of time. It felt like I was doing it wrong. So I just let myself off the hook. And then maybe 2 years ago, I got the itch of like, I'm just going to try it. And now I love it. So these things can really ebb and flow if we pay attention and give ourselves some grace, I think.
No, that's a great point. Yeah, listen to what you need, right?
Yes, absolutely. So you're talking about these boundaries, you're talking about these things that are important to you. And I know you cannot be 100% in all areas at all times. You can't be 100% with your kids and with yourself and with your business. And I hear so much, I even hate the phrase, but I'm going to say it. I hear so much mom guilt in my clients and people that I work with. How do you deal with the mom guilt and get that out of your head?
Oh man, it is, the mom guilt is real. No, I have to remind myself that I'm only human. It's like sort of funny, but it's true. Because you cannot do everything perfectly. And it is sort of an intentional, I have to like forgive myself. I think about like, oh, okay, I snapped at my kid, or I went to this work event and missed one of my family things and my kid guilt tripped me about it, I feel the bad feeling, and then I just try to let it go. But it also helps me to remember that everybody struggles with this. It's like a very universal thing. So it's not that like any particular person is struggling and everyone else has it figured out. It is just a universal struggle when you try to balance things. So yeah, I mean, I just try to like just forgive myself and just think like tomorrow's a new day. Okay, today I messed up. I will try again tomorrow, and every day is a new day. And I do try to just not guilt trip myself. Same thing with the self-care. I used to feel bad about it, but I just try to acknowledge like I'm a human. There's certain things that I need, certain things I'm going to mess up, and just the way it is.
So amazing. Such great advice. Easier said than done.
True.
And when we hear of people like you who we put on a pedestal thinking, oh, she has it all together, and even you're saying this, I think it will really resonate with the audience. So thank you for sharing that. You're shockingly not perfect, and that's okay.
No, oh my gosh, absolutely not.
Oh, amazing. So let's get to the kids. I think these days it is really, really hard to prioritize health when you have kids. And this is part of the reason why you started your business, which I'm really excited to talk about. But let's first talk about your kids and their health. What are some of the things that really work for you and your family in this regard?
Yeah, I think the being flexible really works here too. And it's that is easier said than done. And I think having one of the benefits of having 4 kids and a dog and a cat is you have to be flexible. You can't be super rigid. And it's funny, I think back to my first, when I just had one, my son who's now 9, we were pretty strict about sugar and things like that. And now we have to be a little bit more flexible just because we've got a lot of things going on and things in the house and whatever. So, but I do think flexibility is good because I don't want my kids to feel anxiety or pressure about being healthy. I want them to kind of generally know this is what healthy is. These things are not as healthy, but that everything's a balance. And if you have a bad day or whatever, you can always, try again next time. So I think some of those same criteria work for them. But in terms of like specific guidelines, I do try with food. I try to emphasize protein, fruits, and veggies. And so I'll tell the kids for snacks and meals, okay, do you have a protein? Do you have fruits and veggies? And they kind of know what is what on their plate.
Amazing.
So that's a start, right? And so we try to focus on that, like when we're eating dinner, okay, make sure you're eating your protein. Don't fill up on your pasta because you really should be getting these things in. So that is good. And then in terms of exercise, I just think for kids, it should come naturally. So we don't talk about exercise with the kids, but it is built into their days. So we have a trampoline in the backyard. So Nice. It's like, if they're out there, they're just jumping. They don't think of it as exercise, but they're getting the exercise. And they play a lot of sports, like kicking balls in the yard with their friends. And so I think if you can kind of build those active opportunities into their daily life, then you don't have to, it feels like they're too young to talk about exercise. That can come later. For now, it's just part of their routine.
I love that strategy on movement. And I really love that you're focusing on teaching them the things to add in with food. So focusing on, we need that protein. We need those fruits and veggies to be healthy and strong and have energy and all of that kind of stuff. That's so much more effective, in my opinion, than putting all the focus on the quote bad foods. I'm doing air quotes because my clients will know I hate the word bad food. I don't think any food is bad except radishes for me because they taste like junk. But aside from that, food is not moral. It's not a word that I believe we should be associating with food. So let's talk about that. How do you deal with the sugary foods now? You said you were very strict at the beginning. Now you're a little bit more balanced. What's your philosophy about treats and sugary foods?
Yeah, it's funny you say food shouldn't be moral, because I definitely earlier on as a mom had the idea of like earning treats. And then I read something that was like, you really shouldn't do that, because then your kids start to think that like these treats are sort of like this great prize that they're going to get. And like, they're these wonderful things. And really they're like you said, there's good parts and bad parts. So I have evolved away from that. I try to. So for us, I think we just try to make the kids understand that certain foods should not be a staple in your diet.
Yeah.
So for example, if you're hungry, you should not be reaching for candy. Like if you're hungry, you should be reaching for a healthy snack, protein, veggies, whatever, but it's okay to have candy here and there. And so we just try to keep it in moderation. So maybe it's like a small dessert after dinner, or we go out for ice cream in the afternoon or something like that. But they don't think of it as like a regular part of their diet. And then we also try to balance it out. So if we did go out for ice cream and then the kids are begging for dessert later, I'll be like, we've had a lot of sugar today. Maybe let's wait for tomorrow. And then of course, brushing your teeth like that. I always tell them if they are eating candy, I'm like, you better brush your teeth. And one of my sons has braces now. And I'm like, you gotta brush in there. So I think it's like just helping them understand things like that. Like candy can cause cavities. So it's okay to have it, but you have to think about your teeth, that kind of thing.
Really love the balanced approach. And to add on to what you said, when I think back to my childhood, my parents did this not out of fault, malintent, but just this is the best thing that they knew how to do. Food was there for any kind of emotion. So you go to the doctor and you get a shot, you get a lollipop. It's your birthday, you get a cupcake. You got a good grade, you get ice cream. So I have learned to both celebrate with food and commiserate with food. And as we grow into an adult, that really leads to a lot of emotional eating. I learned to associate food with celebration and with need for comfort. And those habits are hard to break. So there's nothing wrong with having an ice cream here and there. But when that's the only tool you have to cope with a tough day or tough emotion, it can turn into problems later on.
That is so interesting. I don't think I thought about it that way, but you're totally right. And with kids too, it's very tempting. If a kid is sad about something or upset, you can just comfort them and sit with them in that, which is uncomfortable for you too. Or it could be like, oh, here, have a piece of candy. Like,
Yes.
I never thought about that, but you're so right. It's not a good habit to form.
Yes. And of course, all of this stuff is just an idea. It's not about being perfect either way. So
yeah.
I know there's a listener who said, oh, shoot, I just did that yesterday with my kid or whatever. That is okay. They're going to be okay. I turned out fine. And I know the kids will too. It's all good.
No,
But I
you're
really
totally
like
right.
your
You'll never get
concept.
it all right.
Oh, no, absolutely not. So have you had any challenging conversations with your kids about health, or have they asked you any questions that have been hard? What have been some of the challenges with health?
I don't think we've had any particular challenge that comes to mind. But there have been some times where I've realized that I might need to shift course. Like my oldest son, where we were pretty strict with sweets, there was one time I caught him just stuffing candy in his mouth, like hiding with it. And I thought, this is not good. Like now he thinks he has to like hide and stuff himself with candy. So that's when it's like, I need to be more flexible here. That was a few years ago now, but I think those are more of the challenges is as a parent, like you said, you're never going to get it all right. And so the challenges that we face are just kind of witnessing things and maybe making adjustments. But our kids are very healthy. We're lucky with that. My daughter does have some special needs. So she was born deaf, actually. So we're learning sign language and she has some
Wow.
vision issues, but they're not really lifestyle related. But I mean, on that front too, I think we do think about nutrition, like with her vision, is she getting like, her vitamins for, vitamin A and lutein and DHA and that kind of thing. So that's like really the one more health related challenge that we face. But overall, I think it's more about kind of making those small adjustments before you hit a crisis.
Yes, that's so important. Thank you for sharing that. And you touched a little bit on some of those really important nutrients that might lead us into the founding of your company, Vitaminis. So can you tell us well, you've already told us a little bit. You got laid off in the pandemic, but take the story from there and carry us through to today.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So as I said, I've always had this entrepreneurial itch. I've always said I'd like to start a company someday, since the very beginning of my career as a kid even. But, I think as you get older, someday becomes like, when is someday? It's like, so yes, I got laid off during the pandemic and I was about 15 years into my career and I had for several years while I was working at the big global beverage company, I had a list of ideas on my computer. And so we would get this research. I was actually working for an alcoholic beverage company. And so they were never going to start a healthy anything. This was going to happen. And that would bother me. So we would get this research about health trends and wellness trends and better for you. And I would write them down on my computer and think like, this, I should do this. Someone should do this. You know, we're never going to do it at this company. So when I got laid off during the pandemic, no one was hiring. It was this crazy time. And I had this discussion with my husband. I was like, I have always wanted to do this. Maybe I should do it. And I love my husband. He's great. He was like, you know, you should do it. And I think if he had said, you know, I don't know, let's not do it, it probably would have just not, because I'm not this, I think some entrepreneurs always have that ability to just take a risk and go out on a limb, but I wasn't. I had this formal career. I'd always had this like path. So I did it. And the idea that I went with was, I was bothered a lot by pills. I sometimes, especially when I was pregnant, I would take pills and they'd make me nauseous. I started reading on it, and there are a lot of ingredients in them that can be upsetting, or even some ingredients that are made to actually help the pill run through the machinery that it's like, do I really want to eat that? And they can be hard to digest. So I didn't love pills. And for my kids, they can't swallow pills. And then at the same time, gummy vitamins have been really ramping up around that time. And they're delicious, but like back to the candy discussion and habit forming, like, do you really want to form a habit around eating a handful? Because like the serving size is like a handful of these candies every single day. So I was looking around for alternatives that were not pills, not sugary gummies, and I didn't see much out there, really. There are juices like those kind of ginger, turmeric, like fresh juices, but I don't love ginger. My kids don't drink that kind of stuff. So I just didn't see that really natural food and beverage solution on the nutrition side. And so that really inspired Vitaminis. So the vision is like a brand that has all sorts of little mini bites, sips of natural things that are enhanced to deliver functional benefit. And so I started with immune support because it was the pandemic. It was like a no-brainer. And then gut health was one of my original ideas that I finally launched 6 months ago. But one of my kids had terrible constipation, and the doctor told me to give him Miralax, which has its place, but I was reading on it, and it's got the main ingredient comes from petroleum. And I was like, I just don't love this idea. And I was like, where is the natural like gut help? So that was the inspiration for that.
Oh, I love it so much. And I think it's a great point about gummies. Certainly no shame to anyone who is getting in nutrients with gummies, but even aside from the handful of gummies that you said, a lot of the companies have to heat process the nutrients in such a way that once they're in gummy form, they're not even really bioavailable, or a very small fraction is available. So I think your solution is genius, and something I have tried them before. They're delicious. I can envision kids drinking them without any kind of issue. So if people are struggling to get in their nutrients into themselves or their kids, this is a really great solution. And your two varieties, immune support and gut health, I love to start in the opposite order that you went in. Gut health first, because it helped your child with constipation. What are some of the active ingredients in gut health?
Yes, so it has fiber. So it has as much fiber as a cup of broccoli. It's a soluble fiber. So, it helps kind of move your food through, but also this kind of fiber is like food for your microbiome. So that's one of the major ingredients. And then it also has probiotics. So it has as much probiotics as 2 cups of yogurt. And the probiotic that I used in Vitaminis Gut Health is a spore-based. So it has like a spore around it. This like layman's terms, because I'm not a scientist, but it kind of gets deeper into your gut. So some other types of probiotics might kind of come alive up in the upper gut. And this one actually goes down deep because it's spore based. So that combination of kind of feeding your gut with the fiber and helping the fiber to move things along, and then also replenishing your microbiome with some new bacteria, good bacteria, is really what it does.
Amazing. And I personally do take probiotics, but I think it is next to impossible to get kids to eat an abundance of sauerkraut and kimchi and tempeh and natto and all these fermented foods, and next to impossible to get them to eat enough fiber. So this is not a substitute completely. Your kids aren't off the hook at all for eating any vegetables or fruits ever, because there are so many other benefits. But if your kids are not getting in enough fiber for them to have digestive regularity and just for you to know that their health is covered, this is a great supplement. I really love what you're doing here.
Thank you. And it's funny, since I've gotten into retail recently, I've gotten a lot of other populations that are very interested too. So older people have been really interested in the extra fiber because they've been told by their doctor that they need to get more in, and it can be hard to find fiber that's easy to consume. So they get the Vitaminis Gut Health has 5 grams. So you can just get with that quick shot, or add it to smoothie or something.
I have never thought about this, and we're at no risk because my grandfather is 98 years old and will never listen to this podcast, but he does not drink enough water for his health. He lives in the VA and they give him juice and things like that, but he's not getting in enough nutrients. So I am totally going to buy him some Vitaminis. I know he will drink that. I'm very excited. That's a great
I would
population.
love that. Yeah, I didn't
Yes.
think about it either until when I've been sampling. Folks have been coming up to my table. It's great for anybody that just doesn't have the opportunity or finds it difficult to work those things in.
Yes. Oh, so wonderful. So I think you've already excited me, but I want to ask what excites you most about how Vitaminis is offering the opportunity for health for so many people.
Oh, I just love interacting with consumers that are using it and hearing them. Like when I do my samplings in the store, people come up and I think when they think of a health shot, they think it's going to be disgusting. So they're like, oh, I don't know. And then when they taste it and they say like, wow, that's pretty good. And I can actually see myself taking this. And, or, when I see reviews online that say like, oh, this is so great. It really, the gut health one really helped me. Like usually I'm bloated and I'm not, like that really, really makes me so happy. So that's where I get a lot of my excitement, is just, hearing those stories. And I think, hopefully I've left the impression in this whole interview that I really do believe that it's best to get your vitamins and nutrients from food. That's ideal. But I have become so much more aware of how hard that is for a lot of populations for a number of reasons. And back to our conversation about guilt, if there's anything I can do to help somebody, get their nutrition and make it easy and fun and enjoyable, and they don't have to feel bad about it, that just gives me so much inspiration.
Oh, I love it so much. I think to have a business in the health realm, almost all of us have some kind of giant heart that we just want to help people. And it gives me literal goosebumps to hear that for you. I'm very excited for what you're doing. I'm sure it is not without challenges. So I'd love to hear what's the biggest business challenge you face as a busy working mom.
Yeah, I think I knew this intellectually before I started a business, but it is really challenging in the consumer products area to get attention, to get people to know about you. And I knew this, like I said, I worked in consumer products, so I knew this, but I think I feel it now where, I try to get out there as much as I can. I do samplings, we do social media, but it takes a lot of effort to just get awareness out. So that's the biggest challenge. And in beverages in particular, and in supplements, which I'm kind of playing in this in middle ground, you've got really big players, really big budgets. So that has been a challenge, but what I try to focus on are the people that enjoy the product, kind of leaning into those populations, and then kind of having faith that if people really enjoy it, it's good stuff, they will spread the word and eventually it will all come about. So that's part of it. And then I think the other thing that, again, intellectually, I knew was going to be true, but now I feel it. When you strike out on your own, it's like somebody is pulling the safety net right out from under you. I will never forget when I came up with the idea and I'd had it all formulated and I was going to kind of announce it publicly. And it was like this feeling of just fear, what if people think it's bad? What if they think this is a ridiculous idea? What if they think it's gross? Whatever. I mean, it looking back now, it's silly because now I'm doing it, but it's really scary to kind of put yourself out there. You don't know what's going to happen. It might fail. Like that could be embarrassing, or it might, I don't know. So that has been a challenge, but I try to just take it day by day and just remember, like, if you keep plugging away, like something will come of it. So yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm sure it is so good for your kids to see you striving for something that's not guaranteed either. I'm sure you have setbacks and you have a day where you did a sampling and you didn't get as many takers as you wanted. And then you have days that it's amazing and you make a huge sale and you get into a new store, and having them ride some of that with you, I think is really great for them and their own mental health as they grow older and experience challenges.
That's a good point. I hadn't really thought about it, but yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. I think it is. And you have so much wonderful wisdom to share with the audience. I'm grateful for everything you've shared. We will definitely close by telling people where they can get Vitaminis and even giving them a little discount code or a big discount code. But before we do that, I'd love for you to leave the audience with just one last health tip.
I guess my one health tip from all of this conversation has actually helped me kind of crystallize it. It's just being flexible and kind to yourself. You know, life is long, life is complicated, no one's perfect. So I think anyone who's listening, who's even trying to be healthy, who's trying to help their kids be healthy, that's a lot. Like even caring about health is a lot.
Yes.
So that's my biggest thing.
Oh, I love it. Thank you for sharing that. And now the good stuff. Where can the audience learn more about Vitaminis, and where can they get their hands on some?
Awesome. Well, we have a website. It's vitaminisbrand.com. So you can buy it on our website. You can use the code VITAFAM20. So VITAFAM 20 for 20% off your first purchase. We're also on Amazon. I love Amazon. So it's easy there as well. If you search for Vitaminis juice, you should be able to find it. And then our only chain retailer right now is called Fresh Time if you live in the Midwest. But we're working on some more partnerships. My vision would be that it's in every corner, like 5-Hour Energy. Instead of 5-Hour Energy, you've got Vitaminis at every checkout. So we'll see.
Oh, I am so excited for that. Definitely here for replacing the 5-Hour Energy with Vitaminis. That would be a giant upgrade. And to the audience who's excited about supporting a small business owner, turning into a giant business owner in the near future, who is a busy working mom, just like so many of you, you heard Leslie, the best thing you can do is pass it on to someone else. It's hard in this very overloaded marketplace to get attention. So try some Vitaminis for you. We'll put the discount code VITAFAM20 in the show notes. We'll put the link to the website. And then once you try it and your kids love it, pass it along to some other moms in the carpool line, or bring some to your neighbors for the pool party or whatever. Word of mouth really is a gift. And you, Leslie, have been a gift today to all of us. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you so much for having me. It's just so much fun.